In the US, the goal is to build larger and larger language models. In China, instead, the approach is more application-oriented. This is the opinion of Robin Li, the chairman of Baidu, the multinational technology company based in China, specialized in internet-related services. If you watched our previous videos about Meta and AI, you will notice that he is not quite right, as there is support and interest towards smaller and more specialized language models. Robin Li was on the stage at the last edition of Vivatech. Here is what Robin Li has to say.
I would say for China, we take a more of an application-driven approach. Everything behind the saying, it's the technology advancement or improvement was driven by scenarios, application scenarios. For example, the large language model in the US and probably including Europe, everybody is focusing on coming up with the most powerful, most cutting-edge foundation model, right? But in China, although there are also hundreds of foundation models, people are increasingly talking about what's the super app for AI age, or what is the killer app or AI native app. Today, in the mobile age, you have apps like Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. The daily active users are in the order of like a few hundred million to a billion users, right? And for AI native apps, we don't see that yet. We don't see that in US, we don't see that in China, we don't see that in Europe. What's the right form for AI native apps? What kind of AI native apps will be able to reach the 100 million user mark? I don't mean cumulative, right? ChatGPT already reached the cumulative, but daily active users, I don't think they have reached that yet. What's the right format? Is that just a chatbot, or is that a co-pilot, or it's something else? We don't know. But I guess in China, there are lots of startups, and including large internet companies. Everyone is trying very hard to figure out the so-called PMF, product market fit, right? What kind of product format is the right one that can fully take advantage of LLMs, take advantage of the power of generative AI, and can be used on a daily basis by everyone, by billions of people, right? We just don't know that yet. But I would say in China, a lot of talk is about that. I hear a lot of talk about that in the US and elsewhere too, but relatively speaking, more people probably are focused on when is GPT-5 coming out, what kind of new features we will be offering, but I'm more interested in what kind of application can take fully advantage of the existing power of large language models.
The two approaches, however, are complementary to each other, as they provide answers and a stimulus to develop new tools and new services.
An application-driven approach can also propel innovation in the foundation model and speed up the transformation from an internet age to an AI age. I think it's just two different approaches, but they can coexist. We've been thinking a lot about how we can foster a vibrant ecosystem using the foundation models. For example, these days a lot of people are talking about agents. How will agents be integrated in large applications like search? How can we enable developers to come up with all kinds of different agents that play different roles? It's sort of like when you have a question, you can ask some authoritative sources, or you can search on a search engine. But you can also sit here and asking 10 different agents, tell me your opinion about my query. Tell me your opinion about my query, right? It feels so good that you are served by a group of different people with different background, different expertise. This kind of things will propel the technology to move faster, to improve faster.
Today, about 200 million users on Baidu have access to some kind of AI applications like Copilot, Chatbot, or Maps. But the CEO believes that we will eventually have a killer AI app that will be popular among hundreds of millions of users.
Our language model is called Ernie. We launched that March of last year. We have accumulated about 200 million users across different applications, including Baidu Search, Baidu Wenku, Baidu Maps. It's a number of applications. On a daily basis, I would say tens of millions of users, but it's increasing quite quickly, including all kinds of product format, chatbot, Copilot, and a few others. On Baidu Search, we have this interactive tab that you can just ask a lot of questions, follow-up questions for your query. And I would expect some kind of brand new format will come out that becomes increasingly popular, that can reach a DAU of over 100 million. My sense is that that kind of product has not being invented yet. So I would bet that the future will be very different from what we see today.
Whatever the nature of the killer app, it will still have nothing to do with AGI, at least for the next 10 years.
AGI is still quite a few years away. Today, a lot of people talk about AGI. They think, oh, it's probably 2 years away. It's probably 5 years away. I think it's more than 10 years away. By definition, AGI is that computer or AI can be as smart as human, right? Or sometimes more smarter, but we would want an AI to be as smart as human. And today, the most powerful models are far from that. And how do you achieve that level of intelligence? We don't know. Is that just a scaling law? Is that just getting a larger parameter for the transformer model? Maybe, maybe not. And you need to find out ways to or problems that's valuable to the society and try to solve those problems. And in the process of solving that problem, you will be able to find the right way to improve the foundation model so that it gets closer and closer to AGI.
Large language models rely on a huge amount of data for training, and when talking about China, it is expected to have a question about the extent to which the Chinese government has access to its citizens' data. For Robert Lee, finding the data is not an issue, and is not even the most important aspect for Baidu. He explains why.
For the public data, be it in China or elsewhere, be it in English or French or Chinese, we can grab those data and do the processing. And but I think what's more important is that you will have to have a lot of data engineers. They need to select or process data in a way that's friendly to a large language model. You feed those data to your foundation model so that it learns the right skills or capabilities. So we adjusted our R&D team. It used to be a group of architects or algorithm people. Now, increasingly, we have probably 1/3 of our team are data engineers. It's not how you get those data. It's how you process those data, how you select that data, how you form those kind of data that's valuable, that will help the model to improve. I heard a lot of people are talking about, we're going to exhaust the existing data very soon. When the parameters get larger and larger, you don't have enough data to train your model anymore. I'm not worried about that because, again, we are we are hopeful that some kind of super app will come up. And when you have a super app, data will be generated in a large quantity. If you look at the past 20, 30 years, the amount of data in existence has been growing very quickly. Maybe you own, let's say, 90% of the world's data in the year of 2000. Today, it's like a tiny fraction, right? It doesn't matter anymore. This trend, I think, will continue. 5 years down the road, today's data from the whole world is going to be a small fraction, right? When you have the right application, and when that kind of applications will generate more and more data, those kind of data are much more useful than the data we have today. So I'm not so worried about data at all.
In the Western world, we talk so much about ChatGPT, Gemini, Mistral, and other larger language models that we forget that there are countries with their own culture and language that have more interest in developing LLMs based on their own culture. We saw this during the World Government Summit, where we learned about JICE for the Arabic language. And now Robin Li confirms these needs. He also explains why large language models from different cultures can't be compared to each other in order to determine which one is the best. Take a listen.
I think it's a very interesting race, US, China, Europe, or French. I think every country has the opportunity to do better than the last generation, the internet generation. Because if you think about it, the so-called large language model is, by definition, a language model. English language, French, Chinese are different languages, right? You can be better at Chinese, but not as good as in English, and vice versa. And that you can be better at French and not as good as in Chinese. And Europe has multiple different languages. If a French company or other European company can work on all kinds of different languages, I think you'll be able to do a better job than the Chinese company or US company. And vice versa, I talked about early, we are better at Chinese, but we're not good at, not as good in English. We're not handling French. We will eventually, but we choose not to at this time. So that gives everyone opportunities, because the foundation model is not going to be an AGI-like model in the probably next 5, 10 years. I think everyone has this kind of opportunity to do their own job. And on the other hand, I do believe the true power, the true transformative power of generative AI, it will be as smart as human eventually, and it's improving very quickly. If you think about it, if AI can be as good as human, essentially you solve the population problem. France has like probably 80 million people, right? And your GDP is everyone's productivity times your total population. But when you have AI, when you have generative AI or AGI, you can have the productivity of 8 billion people. That's huge. That will lift the economy significantly. Same thing for China, for US. So I think it's a very important direction. It's very helpful that we will be able to get there. Who will get there first? I don't know, but everyone's life will be improved when we work on that kind of direction.
And so here is an introduction to Ernie, the large language model for China.
I think the good news is that today everyone who has access to the internet can log on to en.baidu.com and try out Ernie Bot. It understands English, of course Chinese, but not other
Everyone speaks Chinese here.
Right, but not French and not all the other languages, because that's the strategy we've taken. We decide that we serve the Chinese market primarily, so we just have to do a good job, to do a better job in Chinese than all the other models available in the world. Today, ERNIE 4.0 is better than GPT-4 in Chinese because we used a lot more Chinese data to train that model. But like I said, you can try it in English, but I think the English capability is not as good as the state-of-the-art, English models. That also boils down to the status of LLMs. They have not reached AGI yet. They're not perfect. There are still a lot of things we need to improve. ERNIE is not good enough. GPT is not good enough. Gemini is not good enough. Everyone has its strengths and weaknesses. Because we serve the Chinese market, we have to be better in Chinese. Because we are taking an application-driven approach, we don't care too much about those, rankings or scores of all kinds of LLMs. For example, a lot of models are trying to pass a high school math test, right? And to show that, okay, I'm more powerful than the high school student. We're not trying to do that, although we can do math problems relatively good. But we're trying to find areas to improve in a lot of application-related things. For example, we're powering those digital humans who do live stream shopping. Live stream shopping in China is very popular. Hundreds of billions of goods are sold through live streaming shopping. But right now, all the live streamers are real human. It costs a lot. You cannot sit there and talk 24/7. But a digital human can do that, right? How can you empower a digital human to talk like a human, to answer questions like a human, to control the process, to do game with your audience like a human, and to convince people to buy your product like a human, right? The large language models, ERNIE, is very good at that. It knows what kind of problem to solve. So we've been working very hard to solve those kind of problems, and I'm happy that that propelled the improvement of ERNIE or our foundation models.
As we have seen, today about 200 million users on Baidu have access to some kind of AI applications like Copilot, Chatbot, or Maps. When asked about how he was able to reach these results in such a short time, the answer from Robin Li is very simple.
I'm a believer of AI for a long time. Back 30-some years ago when I was in college, when I was an undergraduate student, I took courses in artificial intelligence in Beijing University. At that time, AI courses were not offered to undergraduate students. It was offered to graduate students. I had to go out of my way to take a graduate course in AI. So after Baidu was founded, I realized that AI was probably going to be the right way to solve the search problem, because when you look at the search, it's that humans try to type in the keywords or queries, and computers try to understand what those queries mean. Essentially, that's an AI problem, right? You have to use the AI mentality to solve those problems. So over a decade ago, we started to aggressively invest in AI, especially in natural language related AI, because for the past 5 to 10 years, a lot of research was done in computer vision. How do you recognize image? How do you drive autonomous car? Those type of things. But to really understand text and generate the right content, that's always been very interesting to me. So we launched the ERNIE 1.0 in 2019. The parameter size was 100 million at that time. That's a large language model, right? Then ERNIE 2.0 was like a billion parameters. Then we had the 3.0. Then ChatGPT launched, and we kind of rushed to launch our answer to that called Ernie Bot. We were able to launch that way before all the other public companies around the world were able to, because I guess we were just better prepared. We've been working in that direction anyway, and of course our engineers work very hard. They work day and night. They put in a lot of effort, but I would say a long-term belief well prepared us for some disruptive innovation like this.